You see this headline from the Wall Street Journal, right, my friends? And this information has the confirmation already. So Putin tells United States that he'll halt war in exchange for eastern Ukraine, entire occupation of Donbass, entire occupation of Luhansk. So how do we know that this information is correct? Well, it is based on Donald Trump's today's comments. He spoke about the swap of the territories.
Well, you're looking at territory that's been fought over for 3.5 years with, a lot of Russians have died, a lot of Ukrainians have died. So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back and some swapping. It's complicated. It's actually nothing easy. It's very complicated, but we're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both.
I think he said about swapping 3 of the times here. So this proposal was announced directly to Steve Witkoff a couple of days ago, then he met with Putin. So what does Russia want? Well, they almost fully occupied Luhansk Oblast, but Donetsk Oblast, no. This is the border of the Donetsk Oblast. It goes like this. There is the big agglomeration of the towns and cities from Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Drushkivka, Konstantinovka. Also here are very important big villages and towns. So it's not the territory of, let's say, this Luhansk Oblast, with just few of the settlements. No, it's completely different thing. Many of the people still live there. And Putin plus Donald Trump, they want to tell Zelensky, okay, give this territory at will to Russia, and Russia will probably give you like this part of the Kharkiv region, this part of the Kharkiv region, and there is the threat for Kupiansk now, so Russia may withdraw its forces from those 2 regions. And also they entered the Dnipropetrovsk region. Over here they made it, so they may also retreat their forces. So if Ukraine agrees on that, it will be not the end of the war, but ceasefire. Russia would agree not to shoot on the front lines. So basically, it is Minsky Agreements 2.0. Actually even worse, because Ukraine in this case would lose lots of the territories. So my friends, we're basically returning back in time a few months ago, like 4 or 5 months ago, then Donald Trump was demanding for Ukraine to capitulate, threatening to cancel the military support of Ukraine, and actually it was done at least 2 of the times. Plus we have more bad news about Ukrainian military support from the United States announced today. So we see how they push Ukraine already to give up voluntarily territories for promise from Putin not to attack Ukraine once again. It's not even the end of war, guys. It's the ceasefire, halt of the military action. So what Witkoff told in interview to Tucker Carlson, that Ukraine should give up those regions which Russia put in their constitution, is actually the standard policy of Witkoff, brainwashed Witkoff by the Russian propaganda. It's still like that. So it might look like Donald Trump changed his opinion on Russia or something, but I see the big game here with no extra sanctions applied in Russia, with no direct military support from the United States for Ukraine. It was the initiative to sell American weaponry to European partners, and later on they deliver everything to Ukraine. But it is just a tiny part of the military support compared to what it could potentially be. So Ukraine should absolutely not agree on this proposal, because it doesn't mean the end of the war. The aim for Putin is to occupy entire Ukraine. He understood that it is hard to achieve the goal using the military power, so he tries to use Donald Trump in his favor, and Donald Trump, for whatever reason, he's following the Russian narratives, continue to follow. So what is in this article? And this time I'm sure that it is correct. Why am I sure? I already told you, because of the Trump's rhetorics and rhetorics of Rubio. They all speak about swapping, and for Ukraine it's gonna be hard, they all say. So this first stage of plan, Ukraine should withdraw the troops from the Donetsk region and the front lines will be frozen. So just a ceasefire, but who is capable to control those front lines which extend by even more than 1,000 kilometers? Guys, it's just physically impossible, and Russia may start any sort of the new provocation to resume military action against Ukraine. They may say that Ukraine is not following the peace agreement. Well, anyways, after that, the second stage will take place, in which Putin and Trump will agree on final peace plan, which will later be discussed with Zelensky. So we are coming back again in time, a few months ago, then Donny was calling Putin that they were sure that they can finish not just war, but divide the spheres of influence. For Donny, Russia is a respected huge country because they have Putin as dictator. Trump doesn't respect Zelensky, and that is why he wanted to negotiate just with Putin. So yeah, the second stage, Putin and Trump decide what to do with Ukraine and inform Zelensky. At this stage, Putin might demand something else, like withdrawal of Ukrainian army from Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. Because, you know, Ukraine, you already started the withdrawal of the forces from Donetsk, so get out from Zaporizhia. It's the Russian town or city. Yeah, it's a big city, actually. But what Russia should do, yeah? So as the part of the proposal, Putin stated that his government will pass a law committing not to attack Ukraine or Europe. Guys, today I'm out of the emotions already. I understand that with the current White House administration, we shouldn't expect anything good for Ukraine. And then 1 month ago, there was some of the positive change towards Ukraine from Donald Trump and his team. No, guys, it didn't happen. But it was just a sham, and Putin still demands capitulation for Ukraine. Because if you withdraw your forces voluntarily from your own territories, your towns, cities, and leave your people behind, it is called capitulation. It's the worst thing possible. Our officers in their channels already say that they will never listen to that order they already mentioned.
Will President Trump, and yourself for that matter, will you still impose these secondary sanctions on Russia Friday?
Well, that's a decision the president will need to make here over the next 24 to 36 hours.
It's not happening. No sanctions were applied today on Russia, and Donny will not apply them, probably. The only thing they did is to raise the tariffs on India, but Ukraine is not the case why they did it, even though Trump, in his Truth Social post, he says, oh, India doesn't care of what is happening in Ukraine. Well, Donald Trump doesn't care himself. For him, the full occupation is one of the good variants. Yeah, I'll show you later why the tariffs on India are profitable for USA. So Trump is not the master of his words. In this case, Putin is the master here.
Required in order to end the war. Now, they may not be the conditions Ukraine can accept, or frankly, that others would accept, but at least we have something to work off of.
So yeah, Ukraine will not accept it, and Europe as well. Ukraine will still receive the support from Europe, but if Ukraine refuses to give up its own territories to capitulate, in other language, right, Donald Trump in this case could potentially block military support once again. Plus, he also might blame Ukraine and Zelensky for not following the peace deal. So this Republican propaganda machine, or MAGA, it's better to say propaganda machine, will again mock Zelensky, as it was in the Oval Office before. And about personal meeting between Trump and Putin, well, here we have the video from Donald Trump himself.
You know, we're working together very closely. But no, in all fairness to President Zelensky, he's getting everything he needs to assuming we get something done. But I'll be meeting...
Yeah. So Zelensky should agree, according to Trump, on territorial concessions in favor of Russia. And Russia might withdraw the forces from Kharkiv region, yeah?
Very shortly with President Putin.
Yeah, meeting very shortly.
It would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that very shortly. I'll be meeting very shortly with President Putin. It would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that unfortunately people have to make. Otherwise, I'd do it much quicker. He would too. He'd like to meet. Well, this meeting could be at the end of the next week. So guys, what can I say? Actually, Putin is outmastering Donald Trump in every sort of the aspect. Trump just follows Russian demands. He's not applying any sort of the sanctions. Moreover, with a personal meeting, he will legitimize Putin as a global leader, not as aggressor, not as a crazy dictator. No, that was the main aim for Putin, to meet with Donald Trump, to show that he can meet the American president at the same time bombing Ukrainian cities. And we know that Trump got annoyed by that. But still, he's willing to meet with Putin too. And today he also mentioned that Putin wants to achieve peace. Guys, it is strange that so unprofessional people are getting to the very high ranks of the superpower countries like United States of America, or
as in Russia, for example. But Russia, Putin, I would say even more competent, way more competent than Donald Trump. Donnie is just... Okay, I don't want to use some words in this particular video, but yeah, I'm just in lack of the emotions. I just accept that nothing will be good with the current White House administration. And now definitely you see why I am always speaking about the politics in the United States, because they want to influence my country and they want to push it for surrendering the territories, for capitulation. 30 years ago, USA pushed Ukraine to give up nuclear weaponry, saying that we're gonna protect you. And today they say, capitulate. Come on, guys. Putin will be happy. He will just cease fire. He will promise not to attack any longer. I have no words. I like USA. It's a nice country, fantastic democracy. But what they do to Ukraine, looking at the current situation, is absolutely not right. So previous White House, I think they understood that at least they have some of the obligation to support at least partially Ukrainian military. But here there is absolutely nothing. Just selling weaponry, getting more money. And let's listen to what Donald Trump thinks about his personal role in the war.
Could have escalated in something much better. That could have been a world war. I think if we didn't come, Ukraine-Russia would have ended up being a world war. And I stopped that. That stopped. Now the only question is, when is it going to be settled? And it could be very soon. But when is it going to be? But that would have been a world war. If I didn't come along with a very talented group of people sitting largely right here, but there are others not in the room that are very talented, I think Russia, Ukraine would have had a very, very high degree. I think even probably would have ended up being in a world war. Your predecessor. I don't think people talk about that now because they don't see it anymore. But we've brought it down a long way. But that was getting to a point. When I first came in, I said, wow, this thing is really bad. And it could have escalated to a level that...
So he mentioned that he stopped it. He said, I stopped it. And now it's, we're just going to negotiate, communicate. No sanctions needed, we're in a process of negotiation. But I stopped it, it's not the big world war, which wasn't up to happen anyways, but Donnie says that he is the winner here. By the way, the same rhetorics absolutely copy-paste he says about North Korea, where he absolutely failed with his agreement with Kim Jong-un. North Korea obtained nuclear weaponry and some advanced tools to deliver that weaponry. And yeah, he's still the victorious. Even then he loses, he still proclaims victory. I think he wrote it in his book. Never recognize your failure, but only narcissists do it. And yeah, we have this new article, definitely it's correct, that new Pentagon policy could divert weapons built for Ukraine back into United States stockpiles. The project for it is out there, presented by Pentagon. The guys like Hexet, Colby, they are all still in the game to cut supplies for Ukraine, to get back the weapons, to cut the signed contracts for Ukraine not to obtain the weaponry for billions and billions of dollars. Here we even speak about the previous packages, which were agreed without this new Pentagon administration. So I see it personally like a pure blackmail of Ukraine. From one side, Donald Trump plus Putin. They say Ukraine should give up its territories for Russia, and Putin freezes, halts, or pauses the war. Okay, there will be temporary ceasefire. Yeah, even though Trump says that we're gonna finish this war, but it's freezing of the conflict. And on the other hand, the United States say, okay, if you wouldn't agree to give up your territories, well, we're gonna cut your military support. All of the previous packages, we already discussing it in Pentagon, and there is the new project introduced, we need to sign, and you'll be out of the weapons, because every sort of the weapon we decide will not go to you, they'll stay in our stockpiles. That's pretty much the logic of Donald Trump. So guys, I personally don't have any sort of the hopes even now that Donald Trump may do something good. No. And the world war he was actually speaking about at the press conference has more chances to start with this kind of the policy. Then you tell to aggressor, okay, you want more? Here you go. Just don't escalate. Oh, you escalated. I see. Oh man, you took more land, you killed more people. Well, I hope you're now satisfied, but don't take more territories. Oh, you took. Oh, okay. We're gonna negotiate. We're gonna think. Okay, maybe you're right. You want peace, right? You want peace. We see that you like peace. So yeah, after all, I use this emotional language to describe you the real thing. So I don't expect this change because people like Donald Trump, they do not change, especially at this age. And yeah, we have the breaking news. Trump said, or his press office said, well, I have this information that on 15th of August, there will be the meeting between him and Putin in Alaska. Well, actually, as many channels reported, it was said by Donald Trump himself. And you know, yes, the attitude of Russians towards Alaska, they count it as their own territory. That's why I think that Alaska is the worst and the most humiliating place for Americans to meet with Russian dictator. But yeah, you have Donnie in power, so you may expect unexpected things. So yeah, he said it really stupid. The highly anticipated meeting between myself as President of the United States of America and President Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday, August 15, in the great state of Alaska. Further details to follow. Thank you for... I don't have words. Guys, I'm not American, but I can feel this humiliation. So if I was the American citizen, wow, it would be really frustrating. It is frustrating for me, I think, for many people around the world that the strongest, supposed to be strong president is not strong. He is too weak. And the worst part is that you cannot do anything with this. Yeah, until next elections, probably. Maybe Donald Trump may give Alaska to Russia back and it will be the swapping of the territory, so Russia could withdraw their forces from Ukraine entirely, right? Could it be the way out? Because Donny is quite comfortable in swapping someone's territories, right? Not his. The only good thing that happened today is the agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia, some sort of the peace deal, and they will rely the control over... I know this in Russian, but I cannot tell in English the name of this corridor. It's the remote place of Azerbaijan. So there is the connection between Azerbaijani territories, which is going through Armenia. So this part will be under control by Americans. Well, the good thing that not by Russians after all, and it is good, and Putin is not making any sort of the part in this peace negotiation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Clearly, Trump here looks like victorious, but the main job was done by two of those countries. Donald Trump is just a mediator, not about the peace agreement between two countries, but about this particular piece of land, the corridor which is used to connect Azerbaijan. But yeah, after all, I'm happy that probably there will be no more war between Azerbaijan and Armenia any longer. But still, it's not the final peace agreement which ends the war. No. Plus, my friends, why the Donetsk Oblast is so important from the military perspective for Ukraine. Try to think about it? Yes, you are correct. Ukraine built defense lines. All of those settlements, towns, cities, villages, surrounded by trenches. The military infrastructure, supplies, everything is working full scale. If you give it up with no guarantees, and there are no guarantees actually for surrendering the territories, Russia may have the opportunity to go full forward without significant defense to Dnipro, even to Kremenchuk and further, like they did in 2022. Tell someone to Donald Trump that Russia doesn't want those regions. It doesn't want Crimea on this map. You can clearly understand it. Russia wanted to occupy Kiev and to put their own puppet government. That's the only goal for Russia. They will not stop here or here. No, they need to get at least to Kiev, maybe a little further here. In the best case, till the border with Poland, and maybe even to go to Baltic countries, which were the part of the Soviet Union. It is not a regional local conflict, like, for example, between Azerbaijan and Armenia. No. It is, how Putin liked to say, the existential war for Russia, which has way bigger intentions than just the occupation of the bordering territories, which were completely destroyed. Russia destroyed all of the towns, all of the cities. There is a single house left intact in, for example, Bakhmut, Chasiv Yar, in Pokrovsk. Everything of that is bombed by Russia. Artillery, aviation bombs and everything. it is the Russian piece. But Trump is so incompetent that he doesn't understand very easy to understand things. And yeah, some people may say, oh, Dennis, you are profiting from this war. You have the channel dedicated for war, so you need something to film about. You're not interested in ceasefire. It's kind of the good deal that Ukraine will give up Donetsk and there will be the ceasefire, the end of war, some people may call it. Well, guys, those people who watch me for a long time understand that I would like not to film about this war at all. I use this channel for the proper cause. It was not built for frontline reviews or something. You may go to my oldest videos and you understand the main thing I wanted to film about. And I have 2 more other channels, so I'll be okay, alright, on YouTube, even without my pilot job. I think I'll be alright, especially with your support on Patreon. I'll be okay. So I want this war to over, and I even support the ceasefire, but not like that. Like, okay, the current front line, hold here at this current front line. It's called unconditional ceasefire. That was actually proposed before by Donald Trump. So 30 days ceasefire, and later on it could lead to long-term unconditional ceasefire. But no, Putin demands to take more territories in this peace deal, basically ceasefire, which means nothing. Ceasefire is nothing. You might remember how Russia already announced the ceasefire before or later on restarting the military actions with a new force. And I understand that even current front lines freezing unconditional ceasefire that I told you is not good. It's not the final solution, and Russia will restart the war once again, but at least Ukraine will not give up its territories voluntarily, like Putin demands and Trump too. That's why the Russian proposal is totally wrong. The meeting between Putin and Trump without Zelensky is totally wrong too. They want to negotiate, to give up Ukraine, because Putin doesn't want those regions really. He wants entire Ukraine to serve for him. He wants to capture it in one or other way, as I told you, in political and military. Now he uses the military action, but his goal is to disturb Ukraine mainly from inside, to announce new elections, to replace Zelensky with his puppet regime, and that's it. As for Ukraine, it should follow its own sovereign policy. I hope that the Ukrainian government is smart enough to understand that, because at the very beginning of the war, it wasn't smart enough to prepare for the war, and Russia occupied southern regions, Mariupol. Russia went to Kiev, actually, from the north. Yeah, somehow our government, despite all of those warnings from allies, didn't understand that Russia is up to attack. And people called volunteers, Ukrainian patriots were calling, come on, we need to protect, we need to dig down to the ground, to build the trenches, reservoirs and everything. Nothing of that was done before. So I hope that this time Ukrainian government will not repeat some of the terrible mistakes it did before. My friends, please check out more videos on my channel, because I constantly update you with situation on the front lines. Today I filmed about aviation topic. It's my favorite. We discussed this Junkers-like airplane, which was spotted in Ukraine carrying some of the air-to-air missiles. It is used to fight drones. I also spoke about the possible perspective for Ukraine to obtain those kind of the slow airplanes to fight drones, and about attack airplane A-10, which is behind me on the poster. So yeah, I try to produce more content for you, and actually you motivate me to film more with your kind support on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description just below. Thank you for your awesome support. And guys, now please don't forget to press your like to this video. By doing so, you also help me. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.